I begged them to plug the machine back in. I was on my knees. My baby was turning blue. But they just stared at me, and charged my brother's phone instead. That's when I knew. My family never saw me as human. My name is Tina, and I'm 24 years old. But this story starts way before now. Back when I was just a kid, a quiet girl who tried so hard to be seen. My mom used to tell people I was an accident. Tina wasn't planned, she'd say while laughing. But we kept her anyway. She thought it was funny. I didn't. My younger brother Marcus came 4 years after me. But the moment he was born it was like I disappeared. He got everything. New clothes, kisses, laughter. He even got his own bedroom, even though I was older. I got the cold room next to the kitchen, where the rats scratched behind the walls at night. On Marcus's birthdays we had balloons and cakes. Family came over. Music played loud. On mine, Mom would say, "Oh, was that today?" And nothing would happen. I used to cry alone in my room, holding the picture I drew of a cake and pretending to blow out fake candles. No one ever asked what I wanted. No one ever noticed when I got sick. No one cared. Except me. Cared too much. When I turned 15 I started cooking for everyone. Cleaning. Helping with homework. I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd love me back. They didn't. They only noticed me when I messed up. And I made a big mistake. Fell in love. His name was Jason. He was 17, tall, kind, and had soft brown eyes that looked like they saw the real me. He listened when I spoke. He brought me flowers. Cheap ones, but I kept them until the petals fell off. He told me I was smart. That I mattered. And like a fool I believed it. I gave him everything. My heart. My trust. My body. At 17 I found out I was pregnant. I didn't cry when I saw the 2 pink lines. Smiled. I thought, now I'll have someone who will love me for real. But I was wrong again. The day I told my parents, my mom slapped me so hard my ears rang. My dad just looked at me and said, "You've ruined your life." Marcus laughed and said, "Who would even want a baby from her?" That night they took away my phone, my books, my freedom. But they didn't throw me out. Well, they had a worse plan. They made me stay. Made me cook, clean, scrub and serve. As my belly grew bigger and heavier every week. "You want to be a mother?" my mom would say. "Then act like one." But they never helped me. They never took me to a doctor. Never bought me baby clothes. Never asked if I was okay. And Jason, he disappeared. Blocked my number. Pretended I didn't exist. I cried into my pillow every night. But I didn't give up. Because inside me was hope. Tiny heartbeat. My baby girl. She was all I had. I used to whisper to my belly, "Don't worry. Mommy will protect you. I'll love you enough for both of us." At night, I'd press my hand where she kicked and imagine rocking her in my arms. I even made her a name out of paper letters and taped it above my bed. Ava. A. Simple. Sweet. Strong. I thought maybe if I was strong enough, life would be fair this time. I kept thinking that right up until the night my water broke. It was cold. I was doing dishes when I felt the sharp pain hit my stomach. I dropped the plate. Shattered. Warm liquid spilled down my legs. I screamed, "Mom! It's happening. Please. I think the baby's coming." Mom looked up from her phone. Dad was watching TV. Marcus was playing a video game. Nobody moved. "Mom!" I cried again, holding my stomach. "Please help me." She rolled her eyes and said, "If you were grown enough to make a baby, you're grown enough to push it out." Gasp. Thought she was joking. But she wasn't. I crawled to the couch, crying, shaking, bleeding. My legs were soaked. The pain was fire inside me. My body felt like it was tearing apart. Still no one helped. "Turn down the noise," Marcus said. "She's messing up my game." I screamed louder. I screamed until my voice cracked. Then I pushed and screamed. And finally, after what felt like a lifetime, my baby slipped out. Teeny, quiet, breathing so soft I couldn't even hear it. My baby girl Ava. I wrapped her in my hoodie and held her close. Her skin was purple. Her chest rose up and down in little jerks. She was so small. I was crying, smiling, shaking. "She's here," I whispered. "I did it. You're here, baby. Mommy's here." Only then did my dad finally stand up and call for help. An ambulance came, late and slow. They looked at Ava and said she was premature. "She needs oxygen," the medic said. "We're bringing a NICU truck. Until it arrives, keep this plugged in at all times." He handed me a small oxygen machine with wires and a blinking green light. "If this stays on," he said, "she has a chance." And that's when I thought, for the first time in my life, maybe everything was going to be okay. I sat on the old couch, holding my tiny baby girl in my arms. Her name was Ava, and she was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. She was small, so small I could hold her with just one arm. Her skin was soft and purple, and her eyes blinked slowly like she was trying to understand the world. The paramedics had left, saying the NICU truck would arrive in 30 minutes. They told me not to worry, but how could I not? I was 17. I had just given birth alone. There was blood on my legs. My arms were shaking. But I didn't care about me. I only cared about Ava. They gave me a small oxygen machine to help her breathe. It had long white tubes, a gentle humming sound, and a green light that blinked to show it was working. "This is very important," one of the medics said. "Keep it plugged in at all times. If the power goes off, her breathing might stop." I nodded and held Ava closer. The moment they left, I felt fear crawl into my chest. Because I knew I couldn't trust the people around me. My mom sat at the kitchen table, still scrolling on her phone. My dad had already turned the TV back on. And Marcus. He was stomping around the house looking for his charger. Nobody came to check on me. Nobody asked how Ava was doing. Nobody cared. I whispered to Ava, "It's just you and me, baby. I promise I won't let anything happen to you." She made a soft sound in return, a tiny wheeze, like she was trying to breathe through a straw. The machine next to me stayed plugged into the wall. The green light kept blinking. I stared at it every second. I was scared it would stop. That Ava would stop. I looked down at her face. Her mouth opened and closed slowly. Her chest moved just a little. I reached for a wet cloth and gently wiped her forehead. She looked like a little angel. I smiled even through the pain. "You're strong," I whispered. "You're a fighter." For the next 20 minutes, I didn't move. I didn't even blink. I just watched her breathe. But then everything changed. Marcus came into the room. He was frowning and holding his phone in one hand and a USB cord in the other. "Who took the charger?" he shouted. "My phone's at 1%. I didn't answer. I didn't care. My baby was breathing. That's all that mattered. Then he spotted the machine plugged into the wall. He walked toward it. "Move," he said. I looked up confused. "What?" "I need that socket. My phone's dying." I shook my head. "No, this is for Ava. She needs it to stay alive." He scoffed. "It's just a machine." "It's an oxygen machine," I said, panicking. "The medics said it has to stay on." Marcus rolled his eyes. You're so dramatic." He turned around and shouted, "Oh, she won't let me charge my phone." Footsteps came from the kitchen. My mom appeared, annoyed. "What now?" "She's hogging the socket," Marcus said. "My phone is dead." "It's not dead yet," I whispered. "And this machine is for Ava. She can't breathe without it." My mom looked at the machine. Then she looked at Marcus. Then at me. And she sighed. "I'm so tired of your drama, Tina." Then she reached forward and unplugged the machine. Just like that. No warning. No care. She pulled the cord out of the wall and tossed it aside. Marcus smiled and quickly plugged in his phone. Froze. For a second I couldn't even speak. I stared at the machine. The green light turned red. The gentle humming sound stopped. I looked at Ava. Her chest. It wasn't moving. "Ava," I whispered. I touched her cheek. Her mouth opened but no sound came out. Her arms twitched, then went still. My heart stopped. I screamed. "Plug it back in. Please." I grabbed the cord and tried to put it back, but Marcus shoved me away. "My phone's not done," he yelled. "Stop," I screamed. "She can't breathe." I tried to crawl back, but my dad came in and grabbed my arms. He held me down. "Enough, Tina," he shouted. "It's just a baby. You'll have another one. She's not just a baby, she's my baby." But they didn't care. I fought, kicked, I scratched, cried. But Ava's chest never moved again. She didn't make a sound. Her eyes, those little sleepy eyes, they closed. Forever. I held her close to my chest. Her body was soft and still warm. But she was gone. My baby. My Ava. Dead because of a phone battery. I didn't scream after that. I didn't cry anymore either. I just sat there, rocking back and forth with Ava in my arms. My heart was broken into pieces so small, I couldn't feel it anymore. I looked at my family. Marcus was already posting on social media. My mom was back at the table, scrolling. My dad was muttering about how he was late for work. And in that moment, I understood something deep and dark. I was never part of their family. They didn't see me as a daughter, or a sister, or a mother. They didn't see me as anything. That's when the rage started to grow, slow and hot. It moved up my spine and sat behind my eyes. I looked at Ava, and I made a promise. "I'll never forgive them," I whispered. "Not for this. Never." I kissed her soft forehead. "I don't know how, baby girl. But one day, they're going to pay." I didn't sleep that night. I just sat on the floor with Ava in my arms. Her body had gone cold, but I couldn't let go. I didn't care if the paramedics came back or not. They weren't going to save her. The machine had been unplugged for too long. And it was all because of a phone. Stupid phone. I looked over at Marcus. He was on the couch, laughing at something on his screen. He had earbuds in. His feet were on the table like nothing happened. Like my baby hadn't just died. My mother was in the kitchen, boiling eggs. She was humming. And my dad had gone back to bed like nothing was wrong. As if I hadn't just watched the life leave my baby's eyes while he held me down. No one even looked at me. No one even said her name. Not once. I sat there rocking Ava back and forth. I whispered, "I'm so sorry, baby girl. Mommy tried. I tried so hard." I kissed her forehead again. It was cold now. And I broke inside. That morning the NICU truck finally arrived. Too late. The woman who came in looked at Ava and went quiet. She checked the oxygen machine and stared at the empty wall socket. I didn't say a word. The woman looked at me and asked, "What happened?" I opened my mouth to speak, but nothing came out. My throat was dry. My body felt frozen. "She didn't make it," my mom said casually, sipping tea. "Probably just too early." The medic frowned. "This machine was unplugged." Marcus groaned. "Can you guys leave already? This is stressing everyone out." The medic looked at me again, waiting. But I still said nothing. There was no point. I knew even if I screamed, no one would listen. So I gave Ava to them. My hands didn't want to let go. My arms felt empty the moment they took her away. And just like that, she was gone. They didn't even offer me a ride to the hospital. That night, I went to sleep hugging the hoodie I'd wrapped her in. It still smelled like her. I didn't eat for 2 days. I didn't speak either. I just stared at the wall, thinking about her tiny face, the way her little fingers had curled around mine, the way her chest rose and fell when the machine was working, and how it all stopped. Because of 1% battery. That thought stayed with me. It burned in my head like fire. 1%. 1 stupid percent. And a phone became more important than my baby's life. The funeral was 3 days later. It wasn't a funeral. It was a joke. They buried Ava in a plain white box. No flowers. No prayers. Just dirt and silence. I had begged my mom to buy a small headstone, something that said her name. She said, "For what?" She wasn't even alive for a full day. Marcus laughed. He wore a white hoodie and sunglasses like he was going to a party. He kept checking his phone. At one point, I saw him take a selfie with Ava's grave behind him. The caption read, "Out here. Signal still strong skull." I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab his phone and smash it into the ground. But I didn't. I stood there, holding the paper name I had made for Ava. AVA, now crumpled in my hand. I whispered again, "I'm sorry, baby." I looked at the people around me. No one was crying. No one looked sad. Not even my parents. My mom was wearing red. I asked her why. She said, "I don't wear black for things that don't matter." My heart broke again. Deeper than before. They had taken everything from me. My baby, my voice, my heart. But that was the moment I changed. Something inside me snapped. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just decided. I was done being quiet. I was done being weak. I was done being their punching bag. At the grave, as the final scoop of dirt covered the box, I made a promise in my mind. They would pay. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But someday, I would make them feel what I felt. I would take everything from them the way they took Ava from me. That night I went back to my room. I packed a small bag with the only things I cared about. Ava's baby photo from the hospital tag, the paper name from my wall, and the hoodie she died in. Then I walked out. No one stopped me. No one asked where I was going. They didn't care. I didn't even look back. I walked until my feet hurt. I found a shelter a few streets away and begged for a bed. They gave me one. Cold. Hard. But it was safe. And I cried for the first time in days. I cried and cried and cried until I couldn't anymore. And when the tears dried up, I made a new promise. I said it out loud, even though no one was listening. I will not die like this. I will not stay small forever. I will rise. And when I do, I will crush them. That's when I began to change. No more crying. No more begging. Only focus. Only fire. Only Ava. Don't know how I made it through the days after Ava's funeral. Everything felt heavy. My body, my thoughts, my heart. Sometimes I forgot to breathe. Sometimes I didn't want to. But I still got up every morning. I didn't go back home. Couldn't. I didn't belong there. I stayed in the shelter. It was loud, full of strangers, and the beds smelled like wet socks. But I felt safer there than I ever did in my parents' house. At least in the shelter, nobody was trying to break me. Every night, I clutched Ava's little hospital photo. Her face so small. Her lips slightly open. Her eyes shut forever. "Don't worry," I whispered. "I'm going to fix this. I promise." That promise became my fuel. A week after the funeral, I saw my brother's post on social media. It was a photo of him holding a smoothie, wearing sunglasses. Behind him was Ava's grave. The caption said, "Out here but the vibes still go hard face with tears of joy #chillin'." My hands shook. I wasn't even surprised. He had no soul. No heart. But what made me freeze was the comments. People were laughing. Typing things like, "Brew you wild for this face with tears of joy." "Sheesh, no respect loudly crying face." "Family over feelings man shrugging mediums and 100 points." None of them knew what really happened. None of them knew Ava died because they unplugged her oxygen machine for his phone. And I knew no one would believe me if I told them. So I stayed silent. But I started watching, listening, planning. My mother didn't even act like she lost a grandchild. She told the neighbors, "The baby wasn't meant to survive. God makes no mistakes." But I remembered what she said at the funeral. She had leaned over to a woman beside her and whispered, "She'll get over it." That baby didn't even cry loud. And she laughed. She laughed. At my daughter's funeral. Wearing red. Like it was a holiday. Like my pain was a joke. That sound. Her laugh. It rang in my ears over and over. It followed me in my dreams. It burned behind my eyes. That laugh was the last push I needed. I started reading again. At the shelter, they had old computers in the corner. The screen was cracked, the keys were sticky, but I used them. I looked up everything. How money worked, how websites were built, how people tracked others online, how people changed their names, moved, started over. I didn't want to escape. I wanted to learn. I wanted to transform. I took online courses. Free ones. Cheap ones. I even emailed professors pretending to be a student who lost her books. Some of them sent me links. I watched every video, wrote down every note. I worked cleaning offices at night. The pay was small, but enough to buy a second-hand laptop. Every coin I earned I saved. Kept quiet. Smiled at people. But inside I was building a storm. 3 years passed. I never spoke to my parents. Not once. Not even when my dad came looking for me at the shelter one night. I watched him from behind a curtain as he asked the staff, "Have you seen my daughter? Tina?" The staff asked, "Why are you looking for her now?" He said, "Her brother's been in trouble. We need her help." I almost laughed. They needed me. After everything. I walked to the back of the building and waited until he left. He didn't come back. But by the time I turned 21, I had 3 fake resumes, 2 new bank accounts, and a job at a tech company under a different name. I started small, data entry, customer support, anything. But I listened, paid attention. I made friends with people in cybersecurity, in finance, in law. At night I still cried for Ava. But my tears were quiet now. And sharp, like knives. I started a savings account just for her. I called it Project Ava. Every cent I made that wasn't for rent or food went into that account. After 2 more years, Project Ava had more than enough. And by then, I was no longer Tina, the broken girl from a rotting house. I was a ghost with power. With tools. With rage buried so deep, it looked like calm. Then one day I saw it. A job application. From Marcus. He had dropped out of college. He had gotten into trouble for fraud. Cheating people online. Lying to banks. Now he was looking for a job at the company where I worked. He didn't know I was there. He didn't know I was the one reading his file. I stared at his picture. Same dumb smile. Same eyes that looked through people like they were glass. I whispered to myself, "It's time." I didn't say anything to my bosses. I just created a fake role. New office. Fake manager. I hired Marcus under a name I made up. Then I started feeding him little traps. Fake money files. Fake passwords. Fake credit cards. He took the bait. In less than a month, I had proof of him stealing. I sent it straight to the police. The day they arrested him, he called out, "Please." I didn't know it was wrong. But I watched from the top floor. Silent. He didn't see me. But I saw everything. And it felt good. Not happy. Not joyful. Just clean. Next, it was my parents. I used the money from Project Ava to buy their house's mortgage. Quietly, through a shell company. They were behind on payments. They were drinking more now. Mom had stopped working. And one cold Friday morning, a moving truck pulled up outside. I showed up in a black hoodie, sunglasses, and a camera crew. I walked up to the door. Mom opened it and blinked. "Tina," she whispered. I said nothing. Just handed her an eviction notice that read, "Now you can charge all the phones you want. Just not under my roof." I turned to the camera and said, "This is what happens when you kill something pure and pretend it never mattered." Posted it online. Millions watched. Some cried. Some were angry. Some didn't believe it was real. But I knew the truth. And so did Ava. I stood at the podium, staring at the crowd before me. Reporters, activists, hospital board members, and even the very people who once told me, "It's just one baby." My voice didn't shake anymore. I wasn't broken. I was power in human form. After winning the medical negligence lawsuit, I didn't just take the millions in settlement and disappear. I used it. Every penny. I created the Liam Foundation, named after my son. Its mission: to expose and dismantle corrupt family dynamics, protect young mothers, and fund neonatal equipment in underfunded hospitals. I never reached out to my parents again. But they reached out to me when the bank foreclosed their house. When my dad lost his job after it went viral that he refused to help save his own grandson. When my brother was expelled from university for cyberbullying after his past texts about my inconvenient baby surfaced online. I never responded. What broke them wasn't just losing everything. It was seeing my face on billboards, my name on grant checks, and my voice echoing in legislative halls. My grief turned into action. My pain. Their lifelong reminder. But it didn't stop there. One morning I got a call from the local news. A young girl, 16, had gone into early labor and nearly lost her baby due to power failure in the same hospital where Liam died. But this time, the backup generator I funded kicked in. Her baby survived. Her parents reached out to me crying. "You saved our grandchild," her father said. "Thank you." That was the moment I truly cried. Not in pain but in release. My son didn't die for nothing. I walked into my parents' old neighborhood one last time, wearing the same red dress they said made me look too rebellious to be a mother. The neighbors didn't recognize me at first. Until they whispered, "Isn't that the girl whose parents?" I knocked on the door of the house now owned by strangers. My parents no longer lived there. They were in a cramped apartment in the inner city, living off borrowed shame. I didn't visit them to forgive. I didn't visit them to curse. I visited to never forget. I left a white lily on the old front step, a symbol of innocence lost and strength reclaimed. As I walked away, I whispered into the wind. "You let my baby die, so a phone could live. Now your silence is louder than any ringtone. And they say I'm cruel. But no. I'm just a mother who rose from ashes. And made sure they would never sleep peacefully again." End.